Hi. I was interested in the fact if you were involved also in the design or in the artistic creation of the monsters or things like this, or
For Lord of the Rings.
yes.
So we had a really great designer on. His name was Alan Lee, and another guy, Jeremy Bennett. And Alan Lee was one of the original illustrators for all the Tolkien books. So he knew every character inside and out. So whenever we had a question, we'd say, Alan, what does this thing look like? And it's a great story because one day we were sitting at a big table and Peter Jackson was there and there was about 10 of us and Alan Lee was there. And we were designing the cave troll that you see here. And Peter was explaining it to Alan. Alan's sitting like this. And Peter's saying, oh, it has a big wart and its cheek is sunk and it's big arms. And Alan's going, and you see him like doing something. And he said, yeah, so let's go ahead and do some sketches. And he pulls this thing out, and it was almost a photograph of the thing. I mean, he was drawing it the whole time that Peter was describing it. He was so remarkable like that. Like he had it all in his brain. So he was the big designer. Jeremy Bennett was really great at creating sort of concept designs for things. So he would do these paintings about this big, but he did them like in 5 minutes with like 10 brush strokes. You put like red and black and the white here, and there would be a picture of Mount Doom, that you almost see in the movie now. He was just one of those guys that he got it all the time. And we would take those designs and incorporate exactly what you see. So the answer is no, I didn't design them, but I mean, we had whole crews of people working on it all together. So this is one of the things I keep saying, what we're all doing or what we're going to do is a very collaborative team process. And if you don't have it as a team process, it's not going to go well.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Can we anticipate the Gollum episode you said today in the interview? I mean, the fact that you want to try and have like a reward for those actors that...
Oh, I think we should see it.
Ok, very well. No, poi c'è una cosa su Gollum che lui sta facendo che vorrei proprio che vi raccontasse. Ce l'ha raccontata, he just told us in an interview this morning, and I wanted him to tell you this afternoon. We're going to see Gollum soon, and we're going to talk about him.
And one of the things about Gollum is, and this is sort of starting to cross over now, we call it Cinema 2.0, and it's basically the Academy is trying to talk about the roles that actors have when they portray digital characters like this. And so, even though you see Gollum doing all this, it was really Andy Serkis that was doing that. He was moving just like Gollum was, and we copied his motion frame by frame. So you get that sort of realistic movement that only he could portray as an actor. And so when this came out, we literally tried to get him a Best Supporting Actor for this, but the Academy's still sort of stuck in the 1920s, and they didn't want to hear about it. But now it's crossing over even more in cinematography, for instance, Life of Pi. The cinematographer shot maybe 10 minutes of reel and everything else was digital. And yet the cinematographer won for best cinematographer. But the guy that did the lighting from the digital side of things didn't even get recognized. So there's a lot of that going on more and more. Avatar was another one. The cinematographer won for Avatar, yet Avatar was 90% computer generated. So, it's things that people are starting to talk about now. Digital acting. The minute you put digital makeup on an actor, he's sort of disqualified. But should he be? I don't think so, because it's his acting coming out. So yeah. Any other questions at the moment? Okay.
I may have another one, sorry.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, so have you seen the... Okay. So Have you seen the, not the most recent, the previous one, now I'm just forgetting the name, 7th episode of Star Wars?
You mean the Rogue One?
No,
Force Awakens.
The Force Awakens, yeah, thank you, great. So, what's your opinion on digital characters? No, sorry, what's that? Actually Rogue One, sorry. What's your opinion on fully digital characters, such as the portrayal of the Leia, Organa, and Tarkin, I guess?
Yeah.
Do you think that's an actually viable? Okay, yeah.
No, this is sort of what I was getting at before, where you can create. So,
Grazie.
Tarkin and Paul Walker in Fast and Furious 7. My wife worked on those shots on Fast and Furious 7, and so it was taking shots that were shot previously of Paul Walker at a certain angle, and we lined up, or they lined up the brother in the same angle, and they just copied his head on. So you couldn't get him to turn because you didn't have that information. So, and plus this, you don't have the soul of the actor. You can copy the likeness of the actor, but you're never. It's going to be animators giving the actor acting lessons, that doesn't seem to work for me. I never really see it quite happening where you're going to do a full CG character. I mean, you will do a full CG character, but it won't be an actor that would know. You won't be able to recreate a Marilyn Monroe movie, for instance, because only Marilyn Monroe could do Marilyn Monroe, and she only knows what she's going to do, or Tom Hanks only knows what they're going to do. So you can copy his motions, but not necessarily portray it as an actor. Yep. I think it's very difficult to have it done correctly, because again, I don't know what that actor is going to do in a different scene. If you have you can recreate the scene that he was in, but why would you do that? You just use that scene. If you want to do something completely different, I don't know, you're not going to be getting the actor's spirit. You could probably put him in a shot or two and you get away with it, but I don't think you could do a whole movie like that. So you would just...
Give me 10 years.
Talking about Gollum, you said that you use and you copied the Andy Serkis.
Yeah.
It reminds me of the rotoscope technique that was used by Bakshi in the 73 Lord of the animated cartoon.
Yeah, I know the cartoon. They did rotomation?
Eh?
They rotomated?
Yes, it was in rotoscope. And I wanted to ask if the Gollum in this trilogy was inspired by the Bakshi's one.
No. No, it was inspired by Andy Serkis. So his acting was so good. In fact, there's an interesting story about Andy. He was only supposed to be originally something that the actors could play to. He was never Gollum. He was Andy Serkis, a guy who was just a stand-in that Frodo and Sam could talk to, and he would read the lines back to him. But he started slowly talking like Gollum, and what he thought Gollum was, and Peter would go, "Oh yeah, talk more like that." And so he developed that role during the shoot, basically, and then he started acting the part. He wasn't just sitting on a stool reading, Gollum. He was actually becoming Gollum, and it worked so well that we just said, okay, well let's, you could actually cut the action with his motion. And then we would just overlay our digital Gollum on him and erase whatever part was sticking out.
I mean also in the visual sense, on the look of Gollum.
What about the look?
Ci
I
vuole il
mean, his
microfono.
face, his body, were they inspired by
Microfono per
I mean the face, the body.
No, microfono.
Yeah.
I mean, his face, his body, were those inspired by Bakshi's Gollum?
His face?
Yes, because
Okay, so then that's an interesting story, because It sort of was in the beginning, and we created a full-size maquette, a rubber maquette of Gollum, you know, with his arms stretched out so we could digitize him and all that sort of stuff. And we started working on the two towers with him in there, using this creature that we created. And we sort of realized at some point we could never quite get the creature to be believable. It was Gollum. He was doing the acting, but you never really bought that he was. You always thought he was a digital character, basically. You didn't buy him as a human. And so we tried to figure out why was that happening, and we realized that Andy Serkis again had such sort of unique features, like he could make his lips square and said certain things, and so we said, oh, yeah, we should just take and scan Andy's face and put part of that onto Gollum to give him a little more humanity and believability, and we could copy him better, you know. And so we did that. We scrapped the old Gollum, which is probably more on the Bakshi side of things, and made a more humanistic Andy Serkis-ified version. And it was funny because I remember when we sort of finished it, we brought Andy in and we said we wanted to show you what we're going to do. And he comes in and he goes, oh my God. And we said, what? He goes, that looks like my dad. It was all like old and stretchy. So, yeah, so it probably started out that way, but no, yeah, we changed it. Yep.
Oltre a Gollum, penso che una delle scene più difficili da fare nel Signore degli Anelli sia stata la scena di massa durante la battaglia del fosso di Helm. Volevo chiedermi qual era questo procedimento, con quale procedimento avete lavorato, qual è il metodo di lavoro dietro quella scena.
Quale?
Il fosso di Helm, nelle due torri c'è la battaglia del fosso di Helm.
Yeah, Helm's Deep. This is something I always talk about too, and I always try and do. Is you try and get as much reality-based things in the shot. So you'll see there's, you know, Aragorn and everybody sort of fighting in the foreground, but in the background we're adding these digital characters. So that was a combination of real people fighting. The wall and the Helm's Deep building in the background was a miniature that we shot, and we shot specific miniatures, so it was just a miniature pass. And then like all the people and the ladders going up was all digital. So we were sort of mix and matching live action, miniatures, CG. And I think, to me, that's the key. You don't want to go, I don't want to talk about it too much, but if you look at The Hobbit, there's more digital in there, and it sort of shows that it's digital. So I think sort of keeping it a mix of all these different technologies, old and new, it keeps people thinking and wondering how you did it. Oh, good translation. Yeah.
Un'altra domanda? Another question?
Well, this is kind of less technical question, but The Lord of the Rings has got a history of trying to be made over the years because of the boundary pushing characteristics of the stories. But wasn't it kind of scary when they first approached you for that particular story? That's been avoided by the producers for years because of the difficulty of making it.
I mean, part of it, from what I understand, was the Tolkien estate didn't want to make it because they regarded the Tolkien books as high literature, and they thought that making a movie of it would sort of bring down the feeling of this being a high literature book. So yes, the answer is it was a little daunting. It was funny because I was asked to come on for the first one. I figured, okay, I'm going to be on a year, and then it's going to do bad, and we're going to come back. And it's funny, even while we were working on it, you never quite knew what people, I remember being nervous up to the first showing, and you never quite knew what people were going to think about it. Even though you knew it was good and you did a great job, it was sort of the first fantasy film to actually make it big. And so, you know, you kept your fingers crossed, and then you started hearing all the reviews coming in, and it was like, wow, you know, I'm going to be here another year doing the next one. But yeah, it was very touch and go in the beginning. I don't know if that answers your question, but...
Two questions. The first one is about the cinematographer and the relationship with him. Because in this kind of movies, you have to recreate big landscapes and such impressive images, lightings, which is the relationship between your work and the cinematographer one. And the second one is about we and you far away in Hollywood and big production, because we see this kind of work and it seems so far for us. And how do you feel guys from Europe and this kind of schools so far away from you? And is it so common that you can find good people far away across the world?
Yeah. I'm going to answer the last question first. The answer is, it used to be all Hollywood, and it's just the opposite now. Now it's not Hollywood. There's all the big post-production facilities are gone out of Hollywood. There's none in Los Angeles anymore. It's Vancouver, UK, Italy, New Zealand. It's literally become a global. When I first started this show, it was very compartmentalized. But when we moved to New Zealand, and then I started hiring people from around the world. Because the software is getting easier, it's becoming more of a global thing. Before, when you would make movies, it was like I was showing you, where everybody would build their own equipment to do certain things, and you never knew how to run this piece of equipment. So it was very compartmentalized. But now the software is so global that I can find somebody anywhere on the face of the earth that would know how to run Photoshop or Premiere. So I think it's just the opposite. I think that the opportunities are becoming a lot more open for you guys coming out. And I think it's going to get even more, because everybody's chasing tax breaks all over the globe. And I don't think it's ever going to go back to Los Angeles. Los Angeles is where the movies might be conceived and scripted, but all the work is done generally all over the place. Okay, so for the first one, yes, you try and rely a lot with the cinematographer. You talk about, like, for instance, Lord of the Rings. You try and get the lighting correct. Lord of the Rings had many multiple elements, so we have, like, green screen hobbits that we put in front of Gandalf, who's this big, and that would have to go in the background. This is daylight. So we would be shooting those elements, but we didn't necessarily shoot them at the same time. So, and because of production, you have to just go. And you can't just stop because the sun's out or the sun's not out. So we call it the 7 sun scenes, because there's shots in there where one highlight would be over here, and the next highlight would be over here on the Gandalf, and the highlight in the background would be up here, and the sun was all over the place. And so one of the things we had to do is sort of equalize all those back. So you try and work with the cinematographer as much as you can, but nature takes over if you're outside. And if you're inside, hopefully, we had a great cinematographer. Unfortunately, he just passed away, Andrew Lesney, and he was great to work with. So, it's just like anything. I keep saying it's a team. They should be teamed up with you. Sometimes they don't, so you just have to deal with what you get. It's sort of a funny thing.
Thank you.
Yes.
Buongiorno, le faccio 2 domande. Volevo sapere com'è stato il primo incontro con Peter Jackson e com'è lavorare con un regista del genere. Se ha aneddoti sono ben felice di sentire.
Yeah, he sort of was a visual effects supervisor in a way, because he did all these crazy creature movies, Meet the Feebles and Brain Dead, and you know, all the classics. And so it was funny because when I was going there to New Zealand, they asked me to work on the show. I'm thinking, I don't know if he's going to be able to pull this off. You know, it's the only thing that I knew that he did a great job on was Heavenly Creatures. And I was like, there's something there, you know. And of course, I went there and he showed me all the clips that he had, you know, to date, and I knew he was going to take a home run with it, you know. So yeah, he's very collaborative. Listens to you. You know, you give him 3 options. He picks one option. He gives you a couple options. You pick one option. So it was a very collaborative experience. I love working with the guy, and I think that's it. Episode. Oh, things that happen. Yes. The only one I can remember, I don't know why I remember it, because we were sitting at breakfast, and he was eating breakfast, and the bacon was soggy. And he told somebody, he said, bacon's really soggy. And he just mentioned it like that. And the next day, the burnt bacon was burnt to a crisp. The bacon, he goes, oh, this is good. Yeah. So it's just one of those things. He just sort of mentioned it, and somebody heard him somewhere, and they burnt bacon every day. So, yeah.
Volevo sapere quanto tempo avevate dedicato alla post-produzione, considerando che ci sono anche le versioni integrali dei film che durano più di 4 ore, e come avete lavorato, se avete lavorato separatamente alle 2 versioni per ogni film.
Yeah, so to shoot all 3 of the films, it was about a year. We shot all 3 simultaneously. It took about a year to shoot. And then we started working on the first one, and there were some parts that were complete, so we sort of started overlapping those. But when they had a reshoot, for each film, the reshoot was longer than a normal movie. So each reshoot was probably like 100 days. And most movies are like 60 to 70 days. So we had lots of footage to choose from. So what we would do, like one sequence, each one was about a year, if that answers the question. But there was one sequence in particular, and it was about 50 or 60 shots, and it was pretty complex. And we finished it, and we were showing Peter, and we said, Peter, okay, we finished this sequence, here it is. We're going to start on the next one. He goes, oh, I have good news and bad news. And we said, okay, what's the bad news? He says, the bad news is this whole sequence is out of the movie. And they were working on this for like 2 months, you know. And he said, but the good news is we're going to do a whole other sequence, and it has to be done in the same amount of time. It has to be done by the end of the movie. So they had to like just everybody scurry and, you know, start working on something. But you know, he says, oh, and the other good news is it'll be in the DVD. So anyway, each film took probably about a year of post-production, and then while we were finishing up post-production on one, we were starting post-production on the next one, but we were also overlapping because we were doing DVD footage for the first one. So there's a lot of overlap.
Lo spettatore moderno al giorno d'oggi è abituato a vedere film di altissima qualità a livello di effetti visivi. Abbiamo visto Hobbit, i film degli Avengers, Star Wars. Mi chiedevo quali sono le sfide degli effetti visivi per i prossimi 20-30 anni, se avete già in mente cose nuove da proporre al pubblico, e vorrei sapere cosa ne pensa del fatto che Hollywood sta dando troppo spazio magari agli effetti visivi, creando delle trame sempre uguali a volte monotone.
Yeah. Boring plots. That's a very tough question. I can answer maybe part of it. Yeah, I mean, we always said, you know, particularly in the visual effects world, we can do the best visual effects and we can, but if there's no story, the movie's meaningless. So you're talking about the script and the story, and you absolutely have to have a good story to make the effect shine. You can't take a bad movie and put good effects in it and have it make it a good movie, even though people try to do that. So, yeah, again, I try to stay away from too much digital stuff, even though the next reel I'm going to show you is heavily digital because it's Godzilla, making of Godzilla, so you have to have digital creatures. You can't make a 600-foot creature, you know? So, yeah, but the studio will just say, well, let's just put up a green screen here and have the actor walk around and we'll put the stuff in later. It's like, well, gosh, it's not going to look as good as if you shoot it in a real building or in a real forest or, you know. So I always try and convince the producers it's better to shoot it real or partly real, immediate foreground stuff real, and then we do our digital work in the background.
What about the next challenges you're facing in the next 20, 30 years?
That's the question I didn't want to answer.
Sorry.
Because I have no idea. I mean, it's progressing so great. I think it's going to get more and more real, and it's going to be. What's that? No, I think it's going to be more. You know, like I'm looking at PlayStation video games now, and they're starting to look almost like film. You know, so I think the rendering time of this stuff is going to get faster and better. So you might be able to get more into a virtual reality world where, you know, you're shooting, you have a live action actor, but in real time you could be compositing him and almost finishing the shot in real time, where now it takes weeks to do that. So that I think is going to progress. They're starting to do that already. 20 or 30 years from now, I have no idea. Yeah. He has an idea.
The light field cameras.
The what?
The light field cameras.
Oh, light field cameras. Yeah, that's sort of interesting. Do you know what a light field camera is? So, right now they're as big as a Canon. They're probably this big and this big around, and it's a giant camera. And what I could do is I could shoot you with photography. It's capturing the digital image. But on the digital image, it actually knows where each pixel is in depth. So I can, in real time, then composite people behind you or in front of you, and on a frame by frame, I won't have to roto anything anymore. It'll just know that you're 10 feet behind me. So if anything at 20 feet will be behind you, you know. So that's sort of coming up. Yeah, it's hard to say. I know everybody's going to try and do a digital actor movie. I'm sure that somebody will do one, and it'll probably be good, you know. But you just realize it's not going to be based on an actor that we know. That would be some made-up character. Keep the lights down because I'm going to keep going. But this next piece that's coming up is sort of what I was talking about. The Academy, trying to sell the Academy into that Andy Serkis really did the acting. And so this is sort of interesting because it's full face and he's acting, and you do wipes between them and you can see Andy and then you see Gollum doing the same thing. It shows you how close we are to the acting. So, lights? So again, for probably, I don't know, 60% of the Gollum shots, we use this technique where we follow the exact beat. I was telling somebody an interesting story where when we first started animating Gollum, we weren't copying Andy Serkis. We had our animators animating Gollum. And so I remember in dailies watching the Gollum shots come in, and Gollum would be doing a certain thing, and I said, that's weird, that Gollum shot, that looks like that's Linda. And they said, oh, that's weird, Linda did that shot, she was the animator on it. I said, okay, that's weird. And then there was another one where we had this Japanese animator called Hiroki, and I said, that's weird that Gollum's talking Japanese in that shot. And then I said, how come it looks like he's talking Japanese? And then we went back to the animator's desk, and each one had a mirror. and they were copying their own facial expressions and portraying it to their character that they were animating. So each one looked different. And so that's when we realized we can't do that. You got to copy him in the service. He's the actor. Everybody loves him. Just copy him. And so